All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to episode number 175 of the Always Race Day podcast. I got Damon back here. We're gonna get to him. We're gonna get to Brett Moffitt news, new All-Star Race format, which looks kick-ass. We'll talk about Talladega. We'll talk IndyCar, and we'll get you out of here. We're gonna do I'll do the schedule stuff in a bit. I'll let you guys know what's coming. But first, I want to thank the great people at the Karl Auto Group for sponsoring what we do on this podcast and here at Always Race Day. And just them being with us all year means a lot to us. And if you're looking for a car, look no further than the fine folks at the Karl Auto Group. They'll help you out, as Damon and I like to promise, as cleanly and as quickly as possible. And that's our personal guarantee. So take it up with us. If you have any complaints, don't go to the Karl Auto Group. But no, Damon's back. We haven't gotten to do one of these in a very long time. I'm so excited. What's up, buddy?
Oh man, it's been a long time since we've done this. So,
well, you're a world champion level.
I don't know about world champion. I don't know about world champion, but been busy. That's for sure. Not just bowling purposes, but doing baseball stuff and doing some intramurals with the school. So been busy. Buying a house. I mean, it's been just
buying a house.
Yeah, it's been one thing after another, man.
That's big news.
Yeah, it is big news.
How are the housing prices gone down as someone who has not at all thought about buying a house?
They've gone down a little bit, but not like a lot. I'm just an idiot. So there's that.
Yeah, no, I am too. I figured that kind of disqualifies you from buying a house. I got to always be a little bit of an idiot.
No, you got to be a little bit insane to buy a house. I've learned that the hard way the last couple of months. You have to have a little brain to buy a house.
No, that's fantastic. I'm excited for you. I'm excited to talk about some racing. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to do the dirt show. We're going to record that. This is Tuesday. High Limit starts here in about 10 minutes. I figured don't date. This was going to be a dirt show, and I figured don't date it. We'll switch it around. And so this will be our pavement show for this week, and we'll do the dirt show tomorrow. No matter where you're listening to this, that still makes sense, I think. So Wednesday, pavement comes out. Thursday, dirt. No, that's awesome, though. I'm amped for you with the house stuff. I wanted to we're going to talk about the All-Star Race rules later on in the show. And I was looking at the bulletin. It says all 4 tires on the car during the 4-tire pit stop must be the same type. They're doing 2 tires. We'll talk about that later. But they're really protecting themselves. Like there's no room to cheat the system. Much like the Vegas Golden Knights have absolutely obliterated the damn NHL salary cap rules with this Mark Stone shit.
As I have pointed out to you time and time again.
3 years in a row, he's missed the last 10 weeks of the regular season and come back for game 1 of the playoffs.
Do not hate the player, hate the game. That's all I'm going to tell you. Do not hate the player, hate the game. Go Knights, go. Obviously, you're trying to find every excuse in the rule book here to.
Hey, it was one goal game last night. Your captain.
We aren't even 4 minutes into this damn show, and you're already trying to interrupt. My God, I thought we've grown up in the time that we've been apart, and we still haven't. So here we go. You're trying to exploit all these excuses.
It's a 1-goal game on Monday night. 1-goal game. You know who scored the first goal? It was Mr. NBA. That load managed himself out of the lineup for 10 weeks in a row to come back during game 1, score the damn first goal of the series on a lucky bounce. It's insane. Absolutely insane.
Yep.
Anyways.
Just asinine. Absolute asinine that a guy who has a split spleen is sitting out. But no big deal.
Dude, that's not even a real piece of your body. Your spleen? Where even is that? No. That's a fakest injury you can make up. He could have at least said shoulder tightness or something stupid.
Okay. Yep. Cool. Yep. So, cool. Yep. So let's just go back to where this all began last night. You're over here trying to complain about the analysts for the game, thinking that they're going to find a way to win.
Vegas.
You're thinking you're going to find a way to win because the analysts are bad.
Oh, no, hold on. I am not blaming the loss on the analysts. I would say
definitely you were.
We need as a hockey community, as media members, we need to call out when teams are cheating the system. It's disgusting. I want the regular season to matter. It doesn't matter in the NBA.
Are the teams cheating the system, or are they just playing within the rule book? You can do this with the way NASCAR works it too.
Dumb rules are still dumb, right? You can say dumb rules are still rules. I don't like that philosophy. Dumb rules remain dumb rules. They're just dumb.
Unfortunate. Unfortunately, as long as they're playing within the binding contract of the rules, don't matter. Chad Knaus made a living and won 7 championships doing that.
Do not compare Vegas in that crook, Mark Stone, to such a nice, fantastic, unparalleled individual that Chad Knaus is. That's offensive. You would even put them two in the same sentence.
I'm just pointing out greatness when I see it, Connor. Just pointing out greatness when I see it.
You want to get into racing?
Yeah, please, because this is ridiculous that I'm arguing with a guy who was on the losing end of a game last night.
I hope you guys all knew when Vegas, and the longtime listeners knew, that Damon would end up being on this show if Vegas was playing the Stars.
Who would have thought first round?
I thought 3 weeks left in the season. When on February 10th, when they said, "Hey, Mark Stone might be out for the whole season," I was like, "Oh, here we go again! Can't wait to see them in the first round."
You didn't see him in the first round last year.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, that was. We're not talking about last year. Screw that.
Why not?
About racing.
We're not. Why not? Because
already, I thought
also lost that.
Talking about growing up. Well, what about the last time we played in the Western Conference Final? Man, I think we got the 2 best hockey programs in the West.
I'm just saying.
You're gonna make me cheer for Vegas.
Too bad one of us knows how to win a cup and the other doesn't.
We won a cup. The first sporting event champion that I had coming out of the womb was the Stars winning the cup.
Well, maybe you should pick.
The second was Jeff Gordon.
You should pick better teams.
I'm a Lakers fan too, but I don't watch the NBA anymore. I gave up on that.
No one watches the NBA anymore except for people like Michael Jordan. And speaking of which,
nice, great transition. Obviously Tyler Reddick. He probably watched a little bit of the NBA this year. I don't know. At least talk about it.
I would say he's watched a little bit of the NBA, yes.
Probably. No, Tyler Reddick won at Talladega on Sunday. Michael Jordan was there to celebrate. Was this his first win?
This was Michael's first win when he's at the track.
Yes. Awesome. No, so the point I was bringing up with that, with Reddick winning and Jordan being there to celebrate with him, and in that visual, aside from everything else, it's massive for racing. And I think when they hear that, like, this is a really big deal, that this is happening, I think they go to, like, the ratings should go up by, 100,000 viewers every week for the next 5 weeks. I think that's what, like, they have this assumption that it's going to be bigger than it will be.
Well,
it's big in the fact that there was, like, radio shows I was listening to on a drive yesterday, picking up supplies to get ready for the Vegas game. That there were shows talking about NASCAR that I've never heard talk about NASCAR.
Well, that's just it. Is if there's anything, one, to your initial point, if there's anything we've learned about racing fans, they're very unrealistic. There's that. 2, the fact of the matter is I'm unrealistic with it as well. I'm a racing fan. I'm a racing fan first and a media person second. But, the other part of it is being broadcasted to a larger scale. I mean, Magic Johnson tweeted about NASCAR because his buddy won a race and he was at that event. Without MJ in the sport, Magic Johnson wouldn't even care. Let's be honest. So it's really cool. And they were talking about it on the morning drive, I believe, this morning. But
that extra push, that extra, attention, eyes that people that typically don't watch racing are seeing it in their headlines, because we've gotten to this media landscape where it's like even the NHL and the MLB are fighting uphill battles, and right. Someone's laughing out there like, of course the MLB is, look at the decisions they make, and Bettman keeps everything, blah blah blah. What I'm saying is that it's really, it's the NBA, the NFL, those behemoths, and then Caitlin Clark. And I'm not doing the like Iowa State guy that wants to hate on Caitlin Clark at all. She commands attention. She's probably the only one that deserves as much attention as she gets from the sports centers and the big guns when they're focused on the smallest of NFL moves or the smallest of NBA moves when bigger things are happening in other sports.
Yeah, that's fair.
So it's tough. You want any extra attention that you can get is really big. So sorry, that was amateur analysis. I lost the train of thought I was going with.
No, it really is. But you're right. You're getting it back into the mainstream. And not to be off topic, but still on topic. I saw something earlier today about how, back in the 90s when NASCAR was really booming, the sport was probably at its peak, I would say, in fandom. You knew the names of the drivers, right? Like you knew Dale Earnhardt, you knew Jeff Gordon, you knew Rusty Wallace, you knew Mark Martin, you knew Terry Labonte, you knew these big names, right? And Kyle Busch made the point that there's been a disconnect in knowing the drivers as much to the new and old fans, really, like the disconnect. Now, if you're a new fan who watches basketball, who's been an MJ fan since the 90s, you're going to know Tyler Reddick's name because of that simple ownership piece of Michael Jordan getting into the sport, owning a car. The brand Air Jordan has now won twice in the Cup Series.
And that paint scheme, by the way,
it's good.
And it's styled after a shoe, right? I'm not like a sneakerhead. Is it styled after like a Jordan shoe, or does it just remind you of one?
I think it is. I think it's after one of the Jordan shoes. That one that Kurt Busch won in at Kansas was the new shoe that they were coming out with.
I would think this is something similar.
I think all of them. I think all of the Jordan branded cars are after some sort of clothing or sneaker line.
God, that's crazy how big his brand is, and I think
it gets overlooked. Think about it. Now there's kids who are watching the NBA playoffs, right? And I'm sure they talked about it on some of the NBA pregame shows. You can't not have Magic Johnson talking about it and your pregame show not touch on it at all. That MJ has won a race. So there's kids that are now watching for a guy like Tyler Reddick. I think you're going to see, I don't necessarily think the ratings are going to just boom because of it, but I think you're going to see more and more people riding the Tyler Reddick bandwagon because of it.
Yeah, I do too. I think he's going to be. Chris said, our boss, Chris Williams, said on his show, he's a future champion. He's very bullish on that about his description of Tyler Reddick. I think it was Chris Hassel. I think it was that one, either him or Bloom. But yeah, I think he's going to be really successful. I don't like guaranteeing someone's going to win a championship. I feel like that.
Especially in today's format.
I don't need to put that pressure on anybody, or I don't know. I think he can for sure. I think he has a chance to be a really he's moved up in my super speedway rankings, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you went at Talladega. He didn't do that on a fluke.
Well, no, but it's also the first time in a cup car he's really been relevant in a super speedway.
I know. He's not in my top 5. By any means. I will tell you who moved out of my top 10.
I already know.
What? I'll give you one guess.
I already know. You already said.
Who?
McDowell.
It was Michael McDowell. Yes.
I know.
So yeah. Hold on. Because you'll be surprised at this take. This is a very mature take by me.
Jesus. You really have tried to grow up.
That was one of the
I've been gone 2 months and you've been trying to grow up in those 2 months.
It's one of the dumbest moves I've ever seen someone try to pull off. I know you're trying to win a race. I get it. You can roll your eyes. That's fine. It wasn't when he came and swerved down the track to make that block across 4 lanes. You don't have the space. You're not going to get there. You're going to wreck yourself and you're going to wreck the field. And then people are going to go, oh, Talladega, we do it again. I can hear Caleb in my dreams every night when I go to bed. He's like, oh, we're going to go plate racing again. How he handled it after the race. Just took responsibility, said we need to watch the film and see what went wrong and I'll do my best to fix it. And I'm sorry I wrecked everybody. That's the best damn way you can handle that out of anybody in the Cup Series. I mean, like, perfectly. Handled it perfectly after the race. I was super impressed with that. I loved everything about those quotes. He can be a little dry sometimes, but I mean, I love stuff like that. I also think when we talk about ratings and stuff, get these guys' personalities out there and tell them to, hype it up for the crowd. If you want to pretend and start a rivalry, like, those dirt legends used to do, and hey, the cameras are here, we're going to act like we really hate each other instead of just moderately, right? Mm-hmm. Do stuff like that. Go for it. But okay, back to McDowell. No, you're a McDowell guy, right?
Well, I'm not necessarily a McDowell guy per se. Like, I don't care. It's kind of funny to see his ass get beat by Daniel Suarez there a few years ago when Suarez body slammed him to the ground. But considering the fact that Suarez is half his size, but I don't like the move. Like, that was the first block when he moved up to block Brad up. That was great. That's a great move. When you go from the wall to the apron, you're going to wreck half the field.
Brad was almost moving back right away.
Too. If he was going to block from the wall to the middle lane, probably wouldn't have wrecked. And he probably had a shot at winning the race even still. But when he went from the wall to the apron to make that block on Brad, it was over. And
I don't think we have to like put a line in the sand about how many lanes it is. I think that is where you get into some trouble with. You're not going to throw a blocking penalty. I don't think NASCAR will.
No, it just is. That was a bad block. I mean, that was a bad block going for the win. I will say on the other side of it is, if you're in that same situation, knowing this, because he's 26th in points, right? And he's leading coming to the checkered flag.
Yeah, you got to do everything.
You're going to do whatever the hell you got to do to win the race. And as bad of a block as it is, as dumb of a move as it is, you still got to do it. And that's what sucks. I don't like it. I hate the move. I think it's a terrible move. But if you're in a position to win the race, and if you don't make that move, you're going to go home that night thinking what could have been, even though God knows and everybody in the facility knew that it was going to end the way it did. You've got to make that block, or at least attempt to make that block to have a shot at the win.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think I don't know. He'll learn from it.
Oh, yeah. He's a good super speedway racer. I mean, he's always up front. He's always going to be fast at super speedways. He's learning a lot by being up front. And we're seeing, obviously we saw last year he can win at tracks or be running up front at tracks that are not super speedways or road courses.
Yeah, he has that Ross Chastain in him that somehow he's always running near the front. I think we started a segment a couple shows ago. I don't know. I've gone through. Grandma's been in and out of the hospital the last few weeks. I'm fine, everyone. Everything's good. Don't worry. I think we had a segment started that it was say something positive about Ross Chastain.
I can't do that.
I know. The other crop, I can't talk Ross Chastain with them. They laugh at me.
I can't do that.
No, your boy though, Keselowski almost won a super speedway race.
Told you, runs up front. Super speedways.
Every time we do the super speedway rankings, Damon is in my ear about Brad Keselowski being at the top. Where's Brad on your list? I could make a list. 3 guys, top 3 in the series. He'd go, why isn't Brad there?
I'm telling you. You look at what he does on super speedways and Talladega in particular. He is the only active driver with more than 3 wins at Talladega.
He's been racing longer than everyone.
Well, that doesn't mean anything.
I put
Morgan Shepherd raced longer than everybody too, but he didn't win more than 3 races at Talladega either.
First, you compare the Vegas Golden Knights and Mark Stone to Chad Knaus. Now you're dragging Morgan Shepherd's name through the mud.
He's the first person I could think of.
Unbelievable, man.
Well, it's better than I could have drug other names through the mud, and I didn't. The guy's won 6 times at Talladega, though. He runs up front at every super speedway we go to, no matter what. Like, you can't not say he is not a super speedway guy. Plus, when you come from the Dale Jr. learning experience of super speedways, I mean, you think about all the guys that have been that Junior mentored through, Junior Motorsports or Chance 2 or whatever. All those dudes are running up front.
Solid point.
It's just the way that they do it. And trying to tell you, Brad running up front, and look at what Brad does. And quite frankly, if it wasn't for that piss poor block thrown, he probably would have won the race.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. The block had gone a little bit differently. I think Brad's in victory lane. I thought he was.
I did too.
You know what's weird to me? The caution thing.
What about it?
Just when are we throwing yellows?
No, let's not.
Some races we are. Some we're letting them finish. Some were. I think they did throw it. I believe
they didn't throw it.
Are you sure? Is that
watch the result from the tri-oval in, and
let me double check. This is terrible prep work by me.
They did not throw it until Reddick crossed the start-finish line.
I know Pockrass tweeted it Sunday. If I can get my app to work for longer than 3 minutes. Tweet from December of 2023. That's cool. Oh, we can't even get 1 day past. Hold on. Damon, throw some filler in here.
Well,
do your comedy bit that you've been working on.
Comedy bit. That's about it. I've already given you my comedy bit for the day, but regardless of the caution deal, they're inconsistent as hell. That's basically what we're trying to prove here, aren't we? Is how inconsistent. Okay, well, you don't need to go searching for the video for it to know that they're inconsistent as hell.
Well, I just want to make the point. Yeah, I just want to make the point that if I need to know one way or the other.
I think, to be honest with you, they've got to find a way. They've got to find a market to what point do you throw it? Like, you're at the tri-oval, you're not racing back on the way. Let them finish it out, right?
Well, I know people that, and I know people. Here's the deal with that, with having that rule. If you wreck on the backstretch, turn 3, and you let them race to the line, there's essentially enough time there for them to slow down far enough, completely enough distance for them to slow down and return to caution or pace speed and finish safely. Are the emergency vehicles being dispatched right away? I know some people will be contentious about that aspect, and then you worry about how much space is too much space. Do you have a line where the rule changes on that?
Yeah.
It's just there's too much gray area. Okay, Twitter's app, trash.
Yeah.
Absolute trash.
It's X, by the way.
It's not, no. When it works, I'll call it X. Okay? It's Twitter.
It's hard to you can't put a black and white thing on it because there is so much objectivity to it. But using that example, right? You're in turn 3, the wreck's in turn 3, and they're coming back to the checkered flag, knowing that they'll have enough time between the flag and turn 3 to slow down. What do you do when there's a normal wreck and you see the safety vehicles go out when the caution's thrown, right? They still don't go until the last car's passed through. So why not do something very similar to that? And just, you don't have to throw the flag, but let the last car that's there go through and then make your way out if you're the safety team. I know there's a lot of but yeahs or whatever.
Yeah, and I'd like to see
but
if
everybody
we throw in a sentence in the rule book that's we will go away from these and I think there is something like this in there, but we will go away from these policies with a common sense thinking behind it.
I mean, let me ask you this. When you go to a race, right, whether you're working it or watching it, do you want to see it finish under green or under yellow?
That's the number one thing I want to see. Thank you for asking. Sorry, no debates today. That's exactly what I want to see. That's the only thing I want to see is the race finishing under green, no matter the circumstance.
You want to see it under green or under yellow. That's it.
Came to see a race, not a parade.
Exactly. That you want to see the race finish with the best finish possible. I'll never forget my very first IndyCar race was that race that James Hinchcliffe won at Iowa, where they ran 7 caution laps to finish the race. Like I'm sitting there with my dad in the stands watching that, and I'm like, this is terrible. They ran 7 caution laps to finish the race and didn't go back green.
And you know how bad that looks for the people in the stands? It's like when I talk about when the Barnstormers play. I went down there. Knoxville rained out Saturday. I went down there and worked the game.
Yep.
Got to see my sister, take my family, boyfriend, all that. It's so integral for teams in the arena leagues to win at home because it's a entertainment aspect. There's not a ton of viewers. Now their viewers have gone up. It's still a small number.
Right.
But
it's an entertainment thing.
Yeah, it's a thing to do in the city. Yep. And it's so important to have great atmospheres and all this stuff. And, some tracks are better at it than others. But yeah, it's finish under green. If you sit there in the stands, like that ruined the race for you that day.
It's you think about any other sport, right? Any other sport, there is a play that always finishes the game, right? There is a play that always finishes the game.
Are you suggesting the NFL bans kneeling?
No.
What about during the anthem? I'm just kidding.
Because it all leads up to a point to get there, right?
Yeah.
Like it all leads up to a point to get there. But kneeling would be no different than when Larson had the whole track lead at North Wilkesboro. Right? Like there's no difference in that. But finish under green. Like make a point to finish under green if you at all possibly can. I love once the leaders take the white flag, next flag ends it deal because I don't want to go back, re-rack, reset, and continue to wreck more cars.
That's the opposite of finish under green.
Just listen. Okay, when if you're gonna throw the white flag, I don't want to have to come back and reset again and wreck more cars. But if you're going to wreck on the back straightaway, let them come back to the line. If you're going to wreck in turn 1, okay, this is where I have to back off my stance a little bit because now you've got everything happening in turn 1. But if you're going to wreck
I'm going to paint a line in the middle of the backstretch.
Well, they did that once.
Every track big enough. I know.
They did that once, and that was an epic failure. So, I mean, I get it. And trust me,
they're going to rule in the caution thing based on where the line is, no matter what.
I know. I want to see majority of our finishes end under green, but I don't think we can. Like, you only have so many opportunities to do it. I don't know. Like for me, I guess as long as you clear turn 1 and 2, let them come back. Let them race back.
Yeah, and
as long as you
I'm not thinking about this great because there's some tracks where
I'm not either. Like Bristol's a bad example of this.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Even a Phoenix is a bad example, really. But Iowa is a bad example. But still, I think that at the majority of the tracks that we see them run at, if they clear turns 1 and 2, let them race back.
Yeah. All right. I like it. Someone out there's not going to like it.
No, I agree.
Let them race back with the safety crews.
Make sure
they don't hit the safety crew. No.
I'm not here to please people. I'm here to make valid points and make you feel dumb about yourself. I'm just kidding.
Real quick, and then we'll get into the All-Star Race format. Eric Jones, talking about safety stuff. He hurt his back in that wreck. He will not be racing this week at Dover. He will be there in person. He's got like a fractured vertebrae, I think is what I read.
Compress fracture in his lower vertebrae.
There you go. Corey Himes filling in. Only thing on that I have is I don't know if there's an X-ray machine in the infield care centers. I don't know if all of them have it. I don't know what really goes on inside. I've been inside one of them, and this guy spoke into everyone's microphones about whether or not Joseph Newgarden was hurt, and it took him 60 seconds to admit the driver that was being treated was actually Joseph Newgarden. So they don't really give you a whole lot to work with, depending on who it is. I'm not saying like, hey, NASCAR, go buy X-ray machines and put them in every infield care center. But yeah, back issues, very serious stuff.
Well, and they did say he went back to the care center after he was released.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, I can't imagine they took an X-ray of it and released him.
So. No, and I think most of these places don't have X-ray machines either.
No, that's why they're sitting there with a helicopter ready to go.
Right.
And that's what, like, guys, NASCAR is not going to go buy. I don't think there's. What do you think? Do you think there's 36 X-ray machines ready to be sold?
I'm sure somewhere.
I guess it'd be 23, 24, or whatever, however many tracks there are.
I'm sure somewhere. It's no different than hospitals having to replace theirs.
I wonder how much those break. Be a nightmare.
That's a great question. Could you imagine?
We
can't do an X-ray today because our X-ray machine's down. It's like going to McDonald's when their ice cream machine's broken. Exactly. You go to McDonald's for ice cream and show up and it's broken. You go with a broken arm to the hospital and they're like, "Yep, sorry, gonna have to come back tomorrow. Our X-ray machine's down."
Before we get in the All-Star Race format? Really big question for you. What's your move when the ice cream machine's down?
Leave.
I burn out of the drive-thru.
Well, I just leave.
Oh, you don't?
No.
You aren't loud about it?
They're already having a bad day. Their ice cream machine's down. I don't need to give it.
It's down every day.
I've
never been there when it was up.
I've been there once when it was up.
Just one time.
It was a great time because I got a party. It was a magical day. I also might have been the first person through when ice cream started being served, but that's different.
So. All right. New NASCAR All-Star Race format. Basically, NASCAR is bringing 2 sets of tires, 2 different options. One is going to be called Prime, and one is going to be called Option. I think the Prime ones are the fast ones. Pretty sure. Only the Prime tire will be used during both qualifying sessions. Teams will have the option any style of tire in the race. Okay. All teams will start on the option tire for the race, though. Well, this is confusing as all hell. Even the simplest of formats. Because I read through this and what's that?
Are you surprised?
Yeah, well, a bit, because the team's pretty straightforward and simple. I guess we won't know which one's faster until we get to the track.
You're surprised. You're surprised that it's confusing. I mean, let's
it usually is. I'm surprised.
What All-Star format has not been confusing in the last 10 years?
That's what I mean. This is like typing this out. This has been the shortest format. Should be the simplest to follow. And I can't figure out which tire is supposed to be faster, but maybe that's not by design. But I think I'm committing a what do you call it?
Crime? I don't know.
No. God damn, this is gonna bug the crap out of me.
You're committing a crime of some sort.
A red herring, a fallacy. That's the word I learned in class.
There you go. Enjoy it.
We really don't know what tire is going to be faster.
Do we know what tire is going to be fast when they show up on a regular weekend? They didn't.
They're all the same ones.
Let's be honest.
Typically, they're all the same ones.
No. Well, yes and no.
That's fake. Unless you're at Bristol.
Exactly my point.
All right. No, so they're going to have 2 options of tires. They'll have like 9 sets through the weekend. Everyone gets the same amount. I don't think this is going to eat through tires faster or anything like that. There will be 2 sets of each, the Prime and the Option for the race. And they'll have a halfway break at lap 100. That's where they're going to do a mandatory 4-tire stop, and then another break at lap 150. So it'll be a 50-lap shootout to the end, and then depending on cautions or whatnot. But about the All-Star Race, NASCAR has like the last relevant All-Star weekend. The NHL is getting rid of theirs. The NFL turned theirs into a flag football game, and now it's just a skills competition. No one, the NBA, the last All-Star game anyone watched was the year Kobe died. And then the MLB one dropped in relevancy when it stopped deciding who was home for Game 7. I love that rule. That was the only thing keeping it relevant, and you screwed it up.
Well, that and the fact that they used to let them wear their normal uniforms out on the field, that was awesome.
But yeah, that was great.
But
do you remember when people used to call that the dumbest rule in sports?
I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, it made it matter.
The reason those guys played.
Yeah. Oh, and then like there's kids that walk around going like the American League rules over the National League. You guys suck. You haven't won an All-Star game in 15 fucking seasons.
Exactly. It was fun.
God, I can't. There's a lot of dumb rules in sports, and they're much more obvious than the MLB All-Star game deciding Game 7. I get what your thinking is, but it absolutely was not even close to dumbest rule in sports. Anyway, the point being, NASCAR's All-Star Race has still held on to its relevancy, and it's outlived all these big sports. Now, they've tried things in the All-Star Race. They've used it as a testing ground for stuff, which I love. Absolutely love it. This 2-tire option only makes it bigger, only makes it more important. I can't wait to see how it turns out.
I'm excited for it. I'm excited for year 2 at North Wilkesboro as well. This is a newly paved track. They've obviously are going to make things a little bit better than what they did at year 1. I think year 1 was more of the nostalgia. Let's bring it back. Kind of, we've brought North Wilkesboro back. It's like a full circle moment, right? Like the nostalgia is back. Now this year it's about putting on a better show. So they went and repaved the track. Now they're bringing 2 sets of tires. You're going to have a 50-lap shootout to finish off the race. You're going to get a 100-lap run to start the race. One
more thing. If this goes well, do you think we potentially see them bring 2 tires to Iowa?
No.
You don't think there's any chance at all of that?
Not
zero?
No, I zero.
Will you concede to me non-zero?
Well,
non-zero chance. A non-zero chance.
I would say there's probably less than a 25% chance.
Yeah, non-zero is essentially like 0.1%.
I would say less than 25%.
Okay.
We've never seen them bring 2 tires to a single single race outside of the All-Star race. I think they have to do this now. If you do it at the All-Star race, fine. But for a points-paying race, I think you have to have a little bit more testing on it than just the All-Star race, and then let's roll it out in July kind of thing.
Yeah, no, it's fair. I just think
I think if the whichever is the better of the 2 tires, the softer tire, I'm assuming, if it's better, I could see them bringing that tire as their main tire. They've done that.
Yeah, I mean, I can see them changing, what tires they bring to short tracks and stuff. But my thinking on that is, sorry, I was trying to figure out how to verbalize this, is it's been such a shit show on short tracks. It's been terrible. There's no sugarcoating it. It is the car. We thought, dude.
Thank you. Oh my God, I've been waiting for 2 years for you to say that.
Oh yeah, that's true. I hadn't conceded that to your face.
Huh.
Damon hasn't listened to 100% of every podcast episode he hasn't been on. So everyone get mad at him for that.
That's fine. You can be mad at me.
Yeah, this car. No, you're right. You're right.
I know.
Do I have to get you a cake now? God damn it.
I've just been, you don't have to do anything.
I wasn't even saying you were wrong. I was just saying, let's wait and see. I was waiting until the facts came out way too long.
You don't have to say anything. You just decided it took you 2 years to figure out to realize that, yep, he was right all along. And hearing you say that you were right.
You shit on the car like 2 weeks into its existence.
And I was right, wasn't I?
They haven't fixed the things I wanted them to fix. So I can't give you either side of that.
I was right.
The wheels haven't fallen off as much. Big asterisk. As much as doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence.
I say lately.
Yeah. No. So it's been that bad. You know what rectifies it if this 2-tire thing works? then you're artificially doing it, but you're creating passing by putting them on 2 tires. Yeah.
Does it really do anything though?
It should. Like
because
the tires should have different wear points. It should have different grip levels. It should have different speeds that they not.
So
you guys get what I'm saying? Not speeds, but pace.
Let me remind you of something, okay? And you're gonna hate me for it, but remember when they tried the 550 package in the All-Star race that year, right? And it was
then we couldn't get rid of it. So this is great.
No, listen, it was fantastic, right? That All-Star race, we saw guys go from the back to the front in a hurry. Then all of a sudden they actually got the package put together and realized what a giant fucking disaster it was.
For what it's worth, I think they're getting closer than further away. I think the past year, they spent the past year getting further away. I think they started to rectify some of their stuff. I love what Denny's doing on his podcast and, talking about all of it and getting that stuff out there. I think that's really big for the sport. Some people just hate hearing Denny Hamlin talk, so he creates some enemies from it. But I love what he said about going away from the downforce thing and stuff like that. So,
well, they need to get back to, in my opinion, I've said it from day one when the car was built. You're taking away what made NASCAR great, right? You're taking away from those guys pushing the rule book, finding the gray areas in the rule book and exploiting it. You're taking away from the best engineers in the entire world.
Yeah.
To have a Lego car, basically, is the best way of putting it.
That makes, it makes racing great. It makes hockey a complete joke. I completely agree with you.
Sure.
I just wanted to fit one more dig in.
I don't know why you're the team that's down 1-0, but anyway.
Hey, if you guys put that goalie in the rest of the series, I can't wait to see what the adjustments look like.
You're in trouble.
Cannot wait. You see how slow that Jamie Benn goal was? Oh my God, he stared at it, man. And you guys took one off the board for a bullshit offsides challenge. Like, Come on. Challenging offsides in the playoffs. It's the softest thing you can do. All right. Real quick, we got to get to IndyCar, and we'll knock that out quick. Sorry to IndyCar for putting them in the back in like last 5 minutes of the show, but Brett Moffitt is going to race for Tricon Garage at Kansas. He's making his return to the Truck Series. It's a multi-race deal. No details aside from he's coming back for the May 4th race at Kansas, and he's having a second kid, second Moffitt Jr. run around.
I just hope I'm sober enough to see him win.
Oh, because you're going to be there, right?
Yeah.
I'm sad I can't go. I will not.
I love that race. That is, it's something I look forward to pretty regularly. Is that Kansas weekend? Is both Kansas weekends, but yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm excited, and like I said, hopefully I'm sober enough to watch him win.
Yeah. Do you think Iowa Speedway having a race this summer is going to affect Kansas's crowd?
I don't think so because they're separated enough.
Interesting.
Because being in I mean, Kansas already, their crowd has, you see a better crowd in the fall than you do in the spring.
My favorite thing is you didn't know what I was doing. That's okay.
No, I did.
It's kind of by design. Okay.
I know exactly what you're doing. I know exactly what you're doing, but I'm trying to be the realistic race fan here.
It's not, dude. It shouldn't affect. If you're a 1 week in a year family,
who can let both sides coexist? I can let both sides coexist.
No, I can't.
Because
I'm just going to throw digs at you.
Now here I am.
You can exist with me throwing. Anyone can exist with me throwing digs on them. I've never gotten anyone canceled.
I get 4 races, right? I got 4 races within 5 hours from me. Less than 5 hours from me. Yeah. 4 hours. Okay. I've got the Iowa Speedway in July. I've got the 2 Kansas races, and I got St. Louis.
What about Chicago?
6 hours to Chicago.
I think it's 5 hours. I think everything's less than 5 for me.
Right. So you think about it, whereas prior to 2022, we had 2. and they were both at Kansas. Now I'm a fan. I've got 4 2 years later. Am I going to go to all 4 races? I don't know. Can't confirm that. If I'm a normal fan, I mean, I wouldn't consider myself a normal fan per se, but if I'm someone that, goes to only a couple of races a year, probably only going to go to maybe 2 of those 4. But you're broadening your horizon a little bit. You're giving the Iowa fans who have to travel so far a race in their backyard, but they're still going to go to Kansas. They're still going to do it because they're separated enough. You think about it, even if you don't go to St. Louis, right? You got a race in May, you got a month off, a race, or you got basically a month off, and then you have a race in June, and then you have 4 months off, and you have a race in September. So
I get it.
Yes, I understand where you're coming from.
I don't need to keep my mouth open for further than it needs to be open. So
I know you don't like it. I know you don't like it. I understand it.
I don't like.
They both have dates.
I get what you're saying, and I get the oversaturation. It's not oversaturated. It's more saturated. I don't get the thinking of a race happening in a different month on the calendar, 3 hours away from you, worrying about that. That's just me. That's a different deal. It's big little brother. Big little.
What do you mean though?
I can't report on. I can't put out there what I'm hinting at. So
basically, the
do you know what I'm hinting at?
Yeah, I know what you're hinting at. I understand what happened. I know why.
It's a bit of little brother energy that you have 2 races and there's another track and they can't have one. You want them to not have one? I don't get that. Grow the sport. Everybody's welcome. The more the merrier. The more tracks around, the more racing fans there will be. I don't get their thinking whatsoever.
I agree. I don't disagree one bit. But that doesn't mean that fans aren't still going to show up for both. Are you going to lose a few fans? Probably. You're probably going to lose some fans. Yes. That's what they're worried about.
And you
can't blame them. But you can't blame them either.
No.
Because every person in the seat is money that they lose or money that they make. Right? Every person that's in the seat is money that you make.
Yes. I thought you were asking me a rhetorical question. Yeah.
I'm just, everybody that's there, it's money that you make. So yeah, they're going to worry a little bit about losing a few fans, but at the end of the day, it's all going to break even because guess who owns both racetracks?
That's the other dumb part about this. Yeah,
right.
You're absolutely right. We got to move on before I say something I'm not allowed to. Hey, if anyone has an issue with it, get my number and call me.
Pay for the exclusive version.
Go ahead. I'd love to talk. Seriously. We'll have a conversation.
Buy the exclusive version of ARD.
We thought about doing something like that. I'm not opposed still. Not opposed. And that I'll put that in if we ever do a Patreon premium thing that like we have at Cyclone Fanatic, that will be the first post. Here's my promise for you guys.
Oh my God.
All right. IndyCar's ratings came back from Long Beach. 307,000 watching on USA, down from the same race last year, did 1 million on NBC.
Yep. Why are you
horrific number? What?
Why are you surprised at that?
It's a lot lower than I thought it'd be. I thought it'd be about 450 something. 300 is one of the lowest numbers they've had in the past few seasons.
Okay, let me ask a different question.
Sure.
And it's hard because of how algorithms work and everything, but how much advertising did you see for that race?
I see a lot of people pointing to this.
I'll be honest with you. Outside of a few things I saw on Twitter, didn't see a commercial about it. And last year, that's something that I thought IndyCar did really well, was promoting each race on other shows that weren't just racing shows.
No, that's completely fair. Because I see others post about the advertisement stuff, and I don't get it as much because I usually tune out commercials. I've noticed NASCAR on some, and when it's NASCAR, my eyes light up. I've noticed IndyCar on some. I don't notice the drop-offs. I get all my news on Twitter. I'm looking at, feeds of series and stuff, and they're posting about it. And I follow more IndyCar pages than the normal person. But I saw it going on, and I was hyped about it. I was, hey, excited. Cars on track today, this and that. What I just don't know where to put marketing, where to spend that budget, and what you need to do. And here's, honestly, from what I was saying earlier, WWE. Let's put some fights in. Talk about how we can artificially create rivalries and tell guys to play it up when the cameras are there. Someone's going to be like, oh, you loser, you wanted to script racing? No. I'm just saying play up a rivalry. If there's a guy that might not like another, tell him to call him a effing Kiwi to a TV camera and get really pissed and walk off camera, and then have the other guy, hear about what the other dude's saying about him, and just play it up. That's all you got to do. I mean, create drama, highlight drama, do whatever, but do something to put yourself aside. That's not my main point here, by the way, but you go ahead, Dame.
Do you think that trying to think of the best way to word this. Do you think that the personalities in racing are too mundane?
No, especially in IndyCar. I think too many of the IndyCar drivers like everybody. That's
what I mean, though. That's what I mean. Like they're too mundane. They're too mono. They don't want to hurt somebody's feelings.
I don't think they're. Yeah. So I think they have such respect for each other, and they should. It's the hardest open wheel car to drive in the world. It's not even close. Not remotely close.
Don't want to hurt their sponsorship, like in a bad light.
If a sponsor's pissed that.
I agree. I agree with what you're about to say.
I know what you're saying too, and it takes the right sponsor, the wrong sponsor person to get pissed at, something that I just suggested, at some situation like that. So
I just think you think back to a guy like AJ Foyt, right? Like AJ said whatever AJ was on AJ's mind, right? But also look at his sponsors through the years. When he has Copenhagen on the car, do you think that they're really going to care that AJ MF'd a guy for cutting him off?
I don't know. M&M supported Kyle Busch for wrecking pace cars and shit.
Right. But there's also a reason they didn't go back to Kyle Busch.
They were there for a long time. That's what I mean, though. If we get another Kyle Busch, like I know people who have worked with Kyle Busch that said he was a dickhead back in the day. I'm not advocating for what should we call Ty Gibbs' alter ego? You can make one up at home. How about that? I don't want to go after Ty Gibbs for no reason. But someone, just do what you want. Don't care what anybody thinks. If we get something like that, that's a gold mine. And now people look back at Kyle Busch and they're like, oh, I respect Kyle Busch and this. There's that. Do you remember that? It was when like the college Instagram pages were really big. And there was one that had t-shirts that said fuck Kyle Busch, and that was like their big slogan of the month or whatever.
Yep.
It was like
half the people that made those t-shirts had no idea who Kyle Busch was.
Yeah, no, it's the best part of it. Yeah, so just to get back on topic,
I think as far as the ratings for me go on the IndyCar side, right? One, you're on USA, not in everybody's.
With the streaming package, it's so much harder to find or think that USA is a thing. That's one thing.
I have USA on YouTube TV, so I get it, but it's not on everybody's TV package. It's not on grandma and grandpa's TV at home, right? I'm speaking in the terms of being in the state of Iowa in the Des Moines Metro. You flip on channel 13 on Sunday afternoon, you're going to find the IndyCar race that happened to be on NBC that week, right?
It's such a bigger audience.
But then you go to Grandpa and Grandma's place and they flip on the USA channel. Well, the chances of them having USA are slim to none. So there's partial reason as to why your ratings are down. The other part of your reason that ratings are down too, you kind of touched on it a little bit, is you're going up against NASCAR. I don't think that's as big of a deal as what we make it out to be at times. But I think their biggest problem is, in my opinion, is marketing. And that's NASCAR's biggest problem at times too with their ratings. They're not marketing as much as they probably should be.
No, I'm glad you brought up that issue, because I want to highlight this. Can we stop? I don't know who it is. And I need to do some digging and find out why.
TV. It is the TV companies that do this.
They've done it when they're both on NBC.
I know.
They've done it when they're both on the same freaking channels, which doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to put them against each other, just like it does. I don't know. There's people out there that schedule events and they don't think that there's anything else going on in the world. And this
all started when they decided to move NASCAR to the late afternoon instead of early afternoon.
I have people that say that NASCAR knew about when IndyCar's race was, because IndyCar's came out first and then scheduled it at the same time, which also doesn't make any sense to them. I'm guessing a lot of those 307,000 people that watched the IndyCar race were going to watch NASCAR.
Let me ask you this, though. I understand where you're saying, but
go ahead.
If you're a regular Joe walking down the street, right? Like, you don't know them. They're not wearing an Elio Castroneves shirt. They're not wearing a Jeff Gordon shirt, right? They're just somebody walking down the street. You go up and ask them, if you have to pick between NASCAR or IndyCar, which are you choosing? They're going to 9 times out of 10 say NASCAR, right? Because that's what they know. And so my point being is, if you're NASCAR executor, right, and your time slots are X, Y, and Z, and your best time slot just happens to overlap with IndyCar, you're still going to do it because you're superior. It's going back to that big brother, little brother move, kind of like we were talking about.
Yeah, and I hate it. But yeah, when you ask me, are you thinking
we hate it as race fans? We hate it as race fans.
Dude, we're
racing
finding an uphill battle too. You have to do things that are gonna help the sport when you have the chance to do them. Because when you don't, I'm looking back at you, and you know the track I'm thinking of, and I'm going, you're setting this shit back.
Right.
When the ratings aren't going up like they thought they were, and people are losing jobs, and I look back at the people that are making moves detrimental to the lack of success in racing. And I think it's absolutely batshit ridiculous. And I need to mention that Scott Dixon won the race, held on old tires. Joseph Newgarden got bumped from the back. He got spun out by Colton Herta. It's an insane moment. Dixon holds him off. Dixon one step closer to being the all-time winningest IndyCar driver. He's won a race every year for 20 fucking years in a row, which is the most impressive stat that I've seen in my life covering racing, aside from guys who have won, 20, 11. How many championships did John Force win? 20?
16.
Okay, 20, 16, 11 championships, stuff like that, 11 Knoxville Nationals. 20 years in the same national top tier 1 series to win a race. That is an absolutely insane longevity to your career, and it's in one of the hardest cars there are to drive that we cover. God damn, 307,000 people watch that. That's it. That just sucks.
And I think a lot of it draws back to, you got to find a way to market yourself better. I agree. We
can say that, but what do you do? What do you do to market yourself better? And I think that's
you got to promote. You got to promote on every facet possible. You have to promote. You can't just assume that your own fans are going to carry the load, because outside of the Indianapolis 500, And outside of the 2 races that Iowa Speedway draws, there's not a great big fan following for IndyCar.
Yeah,
it's not. It's just
figure
not.
it out. Got to figure it out, and tell your friends to watch IndyCar because it's fantastic stuff. It's awesome. I had a point I don't want to do that to him. It wouldn't be. Don't worry about that. It's all I was gonna say. Like Jeff Gluck would send out a tweet. He was wondering why more people aren't watching IndyCar and he talked about how great the series was and the battles, and he was shocked that the ratings were so low. And I've tuned into his show and gone, you spent 4 minutes on IndyCar and 20 on F1, and those were the races you watched, and you spent less time on IndyCar.
Yeah,
so that's all I was saying. That's neither here nor there. I'm not shitting on Jeff. I love Jeff. I respect the hell out of him. And they have F1 writers, getting paid to write about F1 for the Athletics. So that's a big reason why that time slot is there. So that's I didn't want to do the I don't know. I thought it would come off as I was going to body bag somebody, and I didn't want to body bag someone. So
the song and dance with your F1 problems.
Dude, we almost got through the whole show. Through the whole show, and you had to gas me up like this.
I did not do anything. Show's over.
All right. Well, Alex Palou is not winning the IndyCar point standings. Joseph Newgarden has a 12-point lead on Dixon. Palou is, hold on, math. 24 back? 24 back. Kind of an upset. I think Palou's a favorite going in to a lot of races this year. Not a lot of races, but going into this year, he's the championship favorite. Newgarden, Dixon, Herta, and Palou. And then Will Power and Pato O'Ward right behind him in the top 6. All the big names fighting for the title. I love to see it. Love what this looks like so far. Can't wait to watch the rest of the year and see an actually competitive points battle for the series champion. I know there's another open wheel series where it's kind of wrapped up already. So that's all I was asking.
Yeah, generally is.
Good note to leave on.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Appreciate y'all for listening. Thanks again to the Karl Auto Group. We will see you tomorrow.